Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about my reading journal, which is sort of a new system that I've come up with for tracking the books that I read. I admittedly have not really found a system that I've stuck to, and I still don't know if this is going to be it either. But at the very least, I do like the way that this looks. So I'm going to be sharing with you my setup, the supplies that I use, and then I'm going to do a quick flip through of the parts of the journal that have already been filled out. And I'm also going to fill out a new entry on camera since I have a couple that I actually need to add into the journal. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first, like I said, I want to go through the supplies that I use for my journal. So the first thing is you're gonna need a notebook. This is an A5 size notebook, which is about 5.7 by 8 inches in size. And the one that I have is with dotted pages, which is my preference. This notebook, I think, also does come in lined as well as grid and blank. This notebook is hardcover, which helps with durability, and also it's got one of those ribbon bookmarks, which is nice for keeping your place. And it has an inner storage pocket, which is gonna be really useful for something that I'm gonna talk about later. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this notebook. I really like this sort of lilac lavender color. And I think the paper quality is pretty good. It's 100 GSM, so it's thick enough that I don't really experience very much bleed through. So in addition to the notebook, you're also gonna need pens. I tend to use 2 different types of pens. So for my black pen that I use for all my headings, I use a Papermate Flare felt tip pens. I really like these pens and they're pretty popular. And then the other one I like to use in terms of the color pens are these Papermate Inkjoy pens. The Inkjoy pens are probably my most favorite pens that I like to use. I order a new pack pretty much every year. They come in a bunch of different colors and I use them for this. I also use them for work as well. They write very smoothly and very easily, and you won't have any issues with these pens drying. This one takes a little bit of time to dry, so you have to be a little bit careful not to smudge. Next, stickers. So I like to use these star stickers. I feel like they add a little pizzazz to star ratings. The only thing that can be a little bit difficult is if you try to use half stars, you have to figure out how to cut them. I mean, it's doable, I've done it, but it's not what I would call a fun time. And it makes me less likely to want to do half star ratings as well. Either way, I really like them. They come in a bunch of different colors, and I try to coordinate the colors of the star stickers with the cover of the books as well. I also use double-sided tape. This is just the Scotch brand double-sided tape, and it's does what it does. It's double-sided tape. I use this to tape things into my notebook. And then last thing, for the way I set up my notebook, and again, you'll see this in a moment, I need scissors, and then I also need a printer. I like to go ahead and print the covers of the books and then paste them into my journal, just because I find it a lot of fun to flip through, especially because even though right now I'm reading a lot more physical books, I was and definitely will continue to read a lot of books on my Kindle. And so because of that, you don't get to physically see all the beautiful book covers on display. So this is like a workaround to that. The problem is printers suck. I don't know about you guys, but I have never had a printer work whenever I need it to work. And actually, funny story, we have at my job in our copy room, there's this meme. I'm gonna find it and insert it here. And it was something like the printer that worked in other fairy tales. And it's hilarious because it's true, but it's also painful because it's true. All right, so I'm gonna quickly switch over to a bit of an overhead view so you guys can go ahead and see me as I walk through parts of the journal. All right, so I have my journal open here, and the first thing we're gonna look at is sort of the format or the way that I organize the content on here. So first, this page here is basically a template for all the books. I like to put the title at the very top, a picture of the book cover on the upper left corner of the page. And then on the upper right corner of the page, I put some information here. The information that I like to include is the author, the publication date, just so I can keep track of recent releases versus going into a backlog of an author's library. I like to include the page length as well. The genre, I just find these to be cool pieces of information to track. Genre in particular, I like to flip back each month and see what I have been reading. And then I like to put the format down. So I have 3 options here, physical book, audiobook, or ebook. I don't really know of any other option. I guess there's graphic audiobook, but I don't listen to that enough to make it an option. And I'll bubble in which of the formats I use. Oftentimes it's 2 because I do like to do audio and either ebook or physical book. Then smack dab in the middle of the page, I like to include the star rating. And this is where those star stickers come in. And then the bottom of the page, I like to write down my thoughts / impressions of the book. The way I like to think about this is, if you ever walk into bookstores especially sort of local bookstores, they have those little blurbs from like the employees in the stores who have read the book. I think those are really cool to read, so I try to model it after that, where this isn't a private journal by any means. I intend to keep it on my bookshelf, and I wouldn't care if anyone flipped through it to see what I thought about some of the books that I've read. I have a table of contents here, and I just have it broken down by month. For now, I like to do this so I can keep track of how many books I have read in a given month. Again, I don't know if I'll be able to keep this up. I also may not have had enough foresight to give myself enough pages for the table of contents because it's been 3 months and the first page is already full, and there's a lot of pages left in this book, so I might need to sort that out down the line. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a sample entry like I mentioned earlier, and this is going to be for a book that I just recently finished called First Lie Wins. So like I said, I print out the book covers. I do 4 to a page just to try to save paper a little bit. And so I'm gonna go ahead and cut out the title picture for First Lie Wins. All right, that's pretty acceptable. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this here for now. Before I tape this in, I'm gonna go ahead and fill in the headings, just because I think it's a little bit easier to write before I start taping stuff in. So like I said, at the very top, I'm going to put in the title. I already have in my template page the boxes divided in terms of number. You don't have to do that, it's a little bit neurotic, but I like the consistency. So like I know this is exactly the halfway mark at the page, and I have it marked in pencil. And because it's in pencil, I can go through and erase it later if I want to. I do my best to center the title on the page. And then I'm gonna go ahead and fill in the information on the upper right-hand side about the book. I'm gonna fill in the heading first, and then I switch pens to a pen with color to fill in the actual information about the book. All right, now that those headings are in, I'm gonna go ahead and jot down this information about the book. For the most part, I have to actually go on Amazon to find some of the rest of this information, but the author luckily is on the title page picture. All right, so now that that information has been filled in, I'm gonna go ahead and tape this in, and that's where the double-sided tape comes in handy. All right, now that that's in, I'm gonna go ahead and do the star rating, which means I'm gonna need to use my little star stickers here. This actually, I'm gonna talk about this book in a video called something like New Thrillers that I've read. I actually just filmed the video, but I think it's gonna get published after this one, so tune back in for that video. And I actually really like this book. I was somewhere between 4 and 5 stars, and I think I ended up giving it a 4.5 star, which means I'm gonna have to cut one of these stickers in half, which is what I try to avoid doing, but let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, I try to coordinate the colors of the sticker with the book. So in this case, the green of the letters on the cover match these green star stickers here. So I'm gonna go ahead and use those. All right, there we go, 4.5 stars. All right, and so the last thing is I'm gonna go ahead and quickly jot down some of my thoughts about this book. Again, tune in for the actual video where I'll talk about this in a little bit more detail. All right, so then with that, it's actually really hard trying to write and like keep everything in frame. Normally it would be a little bit easier than this. With the thoughts and impressions, I like to do a very, very, very quick overview of the summary, just because you can kind of read the book jacket to figure that out for the most part. But I really like to focus in on what I liked about the book and then what I maybe did not like about the book. Sometimes I take up the whole space, sometimes not. It just depends on the book in question. And that is basically my process for an entire entry into my reading journal. All right, so for the last part of this video, I'm gonna go ahead and do a quick flip through of the journal. And I will be pretty quick about this. The main thing I wanna point out is sort of how I've changed things over time, because when I first started, there were things that I did that I don't really do anymore. So this was the first page. You can see my printer was not cooperating with me here, but I think I had tried to highlight and then I realized that was a bad idea because of the pen not drying, and so end up getting a lot of smudging. And then I had written the words thoughts and impressions, and then I tried to write in cursive. That did not last because it's really hard to write in a small notebook in cursive, as it turns out. And so we keep going. I stuck with this for some time, as well as using check marks to fill in the format. Eventually you can kind of see I did away with the thoughts and impressions title. And we keep going, and this is about when I switched to just trying to write in print here. And then I pretty much held this format for the rest of the journal. Again, I kind of tried as I go through this to match the cover with the star stickers as best as I could. And I've already talked about the Reformatory on this channel. Loved it. Definitely a 5-star read. There's a couple I need to go back and fill this in. I hadn't had a chance to do that. Same thing with the wishing pool. I just haven't had a chance to do this. And I actually don't think this was 2 stars. I think it was maybe 3. So I ran out of stickers in this color. I need to go back and add that in. Another thing that needs to be filled in, at some point I switched to a purple pen. And then here is the most recent entry that I just did. So there's a book I finished before, First Slide Wins, that's gonna go here. I try to put these things in chronological order for the most part. I just thought it'd be easier to film on this side of the page, so that's why I kind of skipped one. All right, you guys, that's pretty much my reading journal and sort of my system for keeping track of books that I've read this summer. And I'm hoping to keep up with it as I continue adding more books to it. I hope you enjoyed it. You can let me know whether you liked it or didn't like it, or if you think you have a better way of keeping track of books. I'm definitely open to hearing you guys' opinions down in the comment section. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.